We grow up. The Elves and the Shoemaker. There once was an old shoemaker. He worked every day from early morning until night. He worked and worked, but he could not make enough money to live on. Now one day all the old shoemaker had left was just enough leather to make one pair of shoes. Before he went to bed that night, he cut out the pair of shoes and left them on his workbench. He was going to get up early the next morning and sew them. Someone might buy them. The shoemaker and his old wife went to sleep very hungry, for there was not a thing in the house to eat. But they were not sad at all. They said, "Tomorrow we will work and work and work." Early the next morning, the good old man sat down at his bench to sew the pair of shoes. He opened his eyes. Oh, there sat the shoes all sewed up. The shoemaker was so surprised that he did not know what to say. He had never seen a finer pair of shoes. That same day, a man came into the store to buy a pair of shoes. He was very much pleased with the shoes that the shoemaker had made. So the man bought the pair of shoes. "Can you make 2 pairs of red boots for my little boys?" he asked. "I shall be glad to make them," said the old shoemaker. So the shoemaker bought red leather with the money that the man gave him. After the old shoemaker bought the leather, there was still enough money to buy meat for supper. This the good wife cooked. Then the old shoemaker and his wife had a fine supper. Before the shoemaker went to bed, he cut out the boots so that they would be ready to sew in the morning. The next day he found the boots all sewed up as before, and every stitch was just right. Again he got a lot of money for the boots. Now he bought leather for 4 pairs of shoes. That night the shoemaker cut out the 4 pairs of shoes. In the morning there stood the shoes, sewed and ready. Every night the old shoemaker cut out shoes, and every morning they were all ready for people to buy. Before long, the good old shoemaker and his wife had all the money they wanted. One evening the old man and his wife sat by the fire talking. "I should like to sit up tonight," said the shoemaker. "I want to see who it is that comes and does my work for me. Let us blow out the light and hide behind the door." So the shoemaker and his wife stood behind the door to see what they could see. Just at 12 o'clock, in came 2 little brown elves. Each of them had a little lantern in his hand. They put down their lanterns, and then they sat down at the shoemaker's bench. They took the work that was cut out and began to sew. Oh, such stitching and stitching and stitching! Their little brown fingers flew. In no time at all, the shoes were ready. Then the little elves laughed and ran away. The old shoemaker and his wife came out from behind the door. They could not believe their eyes, but there were all the shoes. The next day, the good wife said to the shoemaker, "The elves have made a lot of money for us. Now I think we should do something for them." "That will be just fine," said the old shoemaker. "What shall we do? What would be nice for them?" "I do not like to see them walk about as they do," said the wife. "They have not enough on their backs to keep out of the cold. They need some warm clothes." "I know what we can do. I shall make each of them a new suit and a little cap. You can make each of them a nice pair of boots." The shoemaker was very much pleased with this plan. So he and his wife set to work. The good wife made 2 little red suits and 2 little red caps. In each cap she put a brown feather. The old shoemaker made 2 pairs of little red boots, just like those the elves had once made for him. The shoemaker and his wife worked and worked on the surprise for the elves. Oh, such stitching and stitching, such sewing and sewing. One evening, when all the clothes were ready, the shoemaker and his wife set them out on the workbench. They stood behind the door as before to see what they could see. At 12 o'clock, in came the 2 little brown elves with lanterns in their hands. They put down the lanterns, but there was no leather for their brown fingers to work on. Then the little elves found their new clothes. They looked at the suits and the caps. They laughed and laughed. In the twinkle of an eye, they had on the little red suits. They put on the caps with the brown feathers. They put on the little red boots. When they were all dressed up, they danced over the workbench, and over the table, and over the chairs. How happy the elves were! Then the elves ran out of the door and danced down the street. The old shoemaker and his wife never saw them again. But everything went well with the shoemaker and his wife as long as they lived. Join me next time for more adventures.